If you're listening to this episode, there's probably a reason. Maybe a letter showed up in the mail. Maybe a deadline suddenly feels real. Or maybe a situation you were hoping would resolve itself didn't. And now you're trying to figure out what to do next. When foreclosure enters the picture, everything speeds up. Thoughts race, advice comes from everywhere, and it becomes really hard to tell what's accurate and what's just fear talking. This podcast exists to slow that moment down. My name is Hope, and I talk with homeowners in situations like this every single week. Not to scare you, not to pressure you, but to help you understand what's actually happening and what options may still be available. Today, we're going to talk about what it really means to receive a trustee sale notice, what it does and doesn't mean, and why this moment isn't as final as it can feel. One of the hardest parts about receiving a trustee sale notice is that it feels definitive. The language is formal. The dates feel ominous. And most people assume that once this notice shows up, the outcome has already been decided. That assumption causes more damage than almost anything else. If you've received a trustee sale notice, I want you to hear this first. This is not the end. A notice is not a foreclosure. It's a warning. And warnings exist because there is still time to act. I talk to homeowners every week who assume once this shows up, they're out of options. And that's just not true. The biggest mistake you can make right now is freezing or ignoring it. This notice is actually the moment where the most options are still on the table if you move. I want to expand on that for a moment, because fear tends to collapse time in our minds. Everything feels urgent and immediate, even when it's not. Foreclosure is a process. It's not a switch that flips overnight. And understanding where you are in that process changes everything about what you can do next. A trustee sale notice starts a clock, but it does not mean the sale is happening tomorrow. There is a timeline, and that timeline matters. What you can do depends on how much time is left before the auction date. I've seen homeowners panic because they think they're out of time when they actually have weeks or even months. Understanding where you are on that timeline is the difference between having choices and losing them. This is where a lot of bad advice comes in. People hear the word auction and assume the bank is no longer willing to work with them. In reality, lenders respond to movement, documentation, and legitimate plans, which leads to one of the most common myths I hear. One of the biggest misconceptions is that a trustee sale can't be postponed. In many cases, it can. Lenders postpone sales all the time when there's a legitimate reason and a real plan in place. Loan mods, short sales, even active payoff discussions can pause the process. The key is knowing what qualifies and acting early enough. A postponed sale buys you time, and time is leverage. That leverage becomes especially important if there's equity involved. I've seen homeowners lose equity simply because no one ever told them they still had the right to sell, and once a home goes to auction, that equity is usually gone. If you have equity in your home, letting it go to auction is usually the worst outcome. Selling before the trustee sale can protect that equity and give you control instead of letting the bank decide. I've worked with homeowners who didn't realize they could still sell after receiving a notice, and they walked away with money instead of nothing. The notice doesn't cancel your right to sell, it just adds urgency. Now, selling isn't the right answer for everyone. Some homeowners want to stay in their home, if at all possible. And receiving a trustee sale notice does not automatically take that option off the table. A trustee sale notice does not automatically disqualify you from a loan modification. For some homeowners, a modification is still very much on the table. The problem is most people don't know how to approach it correctly, or they wait too long. If staying in the home is your goal, you need to know quickly whether a modification is realistic and what documentation the lender will actually require. When people feel trapped, they often get pushed toward fast solutions, not necessarily good ones. Bankruptcy is usually the option that gets mentioned the loudest, and it deserves a much more thoughtful conversation than it usually gets. Bankruptcy is often presented as the only way to stop a trustee sale, but it's not the only option, and it's not always the right one. Yes, it can stop the sale temporarily, but it also comes with long-term consequences. I've seen homeowners file bankruptcy without fully understanding the alternatives, and they regret it later. Bankruptcy should be a strategic decision, not a panic move. Every homeowner's situation is different. There isn't one right answer for everyone. The right option depends on your timeline, your equity, your income, and what you want life to look like after this chapter is over. But there is one option that never works. The most dangerous option after receiving a trustee sale notice is doing nothing. Silence doesn't slow the process. Hoping it goes away doesn't help. Every good outcome I've seen starts with a conversation and a plan. Even if the situation feels overwhelming, action creates options. The earlier you get clarity, the more control you keep over what happens next. If you're still listening, that tells me something. It tells me you care about getting this right, and that matters. A trustee sale notice is not a verdict on you. It's not a moral failure. It's a financial situation that needs clarity and a plan. If you want help understanding what options apply to your specific situation, reach out. There's no cost to get clarity, and sometimes a single conversation can completely change the direction this goes. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. We release these regularly to help homeowners understand their options before it's too late. And if you know someone who just received a trustee sale notice, share this episode with them. It could genuinely make a difference. You're not out of options, you just need the right information and a plan.